Welcome back to the Friday edition of the Future Quake Show. And this is the show that we do tomorrow's Tremors for today's review of the Future's news.
Yeah.
And I guess I'm remiss to say that I'm Dr. Future.
And I'm also remiss to say that I am Tom Bionic.
One thing that we have been telling you all since we've been on with our new formatted show is to encourage you to send in emails and let us know what you think about the show.
Mm-hmm.
We know that takes time. There's a little inertia involved for you to make a little mental note, to take your hands off the steering wheel in the car if you're commuting home, and write some detailed notes to contact us later. But we've had a few people who started to do that, and we've mentioned to you that if you let us know if it's okay, we'd like to share some of it with our listeners during our Friday, tomorrow's Tremors show. And one such email we've got today we were going to share with you. It's not really a question, and feel free to ask us a question to discuss on the show, or just give us your 2 cents about topics. But this was just a quick word of encouragement from one of our longer-term listeners. This is Jackie from Indianapolis, who's she calls herself an Indianapolis area grandmother. And I know she's done wonderful work. She's even taking our shows and sharing it with a small group that she has at her church.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. So I guess you've communicated with this lady before?
Or? She has been with us for some time. But let me just share with you a little bit of what she has to share with us. She says, "Hi, I listened to the first night's interview with Chris Pinto last night via the website." She says, "Sounds good." And she just gives us all sorts of good compliments. She suggests, how about having Perry Stone or Chuck Missler of Koinonia House maybe on a segment?
That's a big influence on me. I'd like to see Chuck as well.
Oh, Chuck would be great. Although, even though he did at a conference one time,
he
referred to
Dr. Futile.
Dr. Futile, yeah. So, and I'm going to bring that up when we have him on the show. He's not going to get away that easy.
I think I had mentioned getting Chuck on before, and that's. You've also said that.
Yeah, it's like a boy named Sue.
Yeah.
I'm going to say, how do you
Chuck
do? I'm Dr. Future.
Chuck versus Dr. Future, right here on Future Quake.
That's right. Kicking and a gouging. But anyway, we need to have Chuck on because he's one of our kind of guys.
He's great. Yeah, he's really good.
Perry Stone also is an extremely popular prophecy writer. And
I don't know as much from him.
He's pretty big time. We'll just have to see if he could carve out a little time for Doctor and Tom.
Yeah.
But Jackie, we're going to sure do everything we can to try to get them lined up. And you mentioned even a couple interesting topics like the Lakeland, Florida outpouring, discussing the pros and the cons of what's going on there. I think that's an interesting discussion to have.
Wow, I haven't heard anything about that.
And also, she mentions Nephilim versus the Star Children.
Versus like they...
Well, not like a battle.
No holds barred melee?
It's not like Godzilla versus Megalon, but... evidently, you can tell very clearly that Miss Jackie is well-read and also a regular listener to our show.
Mm-hmm.
We've had some features on the Star Children, in fact, that have a connection here in our local area here.
Yeah.
So, Jackie, thank you for being such a great listener and a real encourager in the Lord. We appreciate it so much. We're sorry when if we let you down. We have some strange shows and you don't know where we're coming from. Thank you for being patient with us. Yeah. And I just want you to be an example to all of our new listeners out there. You'll hear stuff from us, and sometimes we don't even know what our opinion was.
Don't worry,
when we shared
folks. This show is completely unscripted.
And until they get professional people to host this show, you just got you and me, and we just try to talk about things other people don't talk about in the Christian world.
Try and deal with the important stuff.
And our opinions change over time. We'll say things, and sometimes with further thought, we may realize we've trivialized things or something like that. And people like Miss Jackie are very, very faithful to us. They know she knows where we're coming from, and our other listeners. Mm-hmm. And those of you that are new, I just want to let you know we have some long-term listeners to the show that like what they hear over time, and I think you'll be the same way too.
Yeah.
Let's go. We're jawing a lot, and we got some stories to review.
It's time. So do you want to go first, or should I go first?
You call it. We don't have a coin in the studio. Thumb wrestle?
We could do lots in the lap. I think that's biblical.
Rock, paper, scissors?
You want to do rock, paper, scissors?
Yeah, okay, ready?
1, 2, 3.
2 scissors.
Okay, here one more time. 1, 2, 3.
We get 2 papers.
2 papers.
We're wasting a lot of their good time
You go.
Playing rock, paper, scissors. They don't get to hear that on radio much.
I know. Let me know if it gets too slick for you, folks.
All right, well, let's do a quick one here. This is the story. It says, water crisis to be biggest world risk. This is where we get some of those downer stories.
Yeah, not a happy one.
A catastrophic water shortage could prove an even bigger threat to mankind this century than soaring food prices and the relentless exhaustion of energy reserves, according to a panel of global experts at the Goldman Sachs Top 5 Risk Conference. Should be an interesting place to go to. Nicholas Lord Stern, author of the government's Stern Review on the Economics of Climate Change, warned that underground aquifers could run dry at the same time as melting glaciers play havoc with fresh supplies of usable water. The glaciers on the Himalayas are retreating, and they are at the sponge that holds the water back in the rainy season. We're facing the risk of extreme runoff, with water running straight into the Bay of Bengal and taking a lot of topsoil with it, he said. A few hundred square miles of the Himalayas are the source for all the major rivers of Asia. The Ganges, Yellow River, Yangtze, where 3 billion people live. That's almost half the world's population. Lord Stern, the World Bank's former chief economist, said governments had been slow to accept the awful truth that usable water is running out. Fresh rainfall is not enough to refill underground water tables. Water is not a renewable resource. People have been mining it without restraint because it's not been priced properly. Farming takes up 70% of global water demand. Fresh water for irrigation is never returned to underground basins. Most of it is lost through leaks and evaporation. A Goldman Sachs report said water was the petroleum for the next century, offering huge rewards for investors who know how to play the infrastructure boom. The U.S. alone needs up to $1 trillion in new piping and wastewater plants by 2020. Demand for water continues to escalate at unsustainable rates. At the risk of being alarmist, we see parallels with Malthusian economics. Globally, water consumption is doubling every 20 years. By 2025, it's estimated that 1/3 of the global population will not have access to adequate drinking water, it says. China faces an acute challenge. It makes up 21% of humanity, but controls just 7% of the water supply. The water basin in parts of northern China is falling by 1 meter a year due to overpumping. In the Hebei province, the aquifer fell 3 meters last year. An increasing number of rivers are running dry. Disputes over cross-border water basins have already prompted Egypt to threaten military action against any country that draws water off the Nile without agreement. The shift to an animal protein diet across Asia has added to the strain. It takes 15 cubic meters of water on average to produce 1 kilogram of beef, compared to 6 for poultry and 1.5 for corn. Just getting here to the end, Goldman Sachs advises investors to focus on high-tech end of the world's $425 billion water industry, but beware of consumer backlash against bottled water, not now viewed as an eco-hostile waste of fuel. They are looking at companies that produce or service filtration equipment, which can extract anything from caffeine to animal growth hormones out of the water using nanotechnologies.
Wow. Well, that wouldn't be bad.
It's good to know. Yeah. Ultraviolet disinfection, desalinization technology, automated water meters, and specialist niches in water reuse. GE is a market leader in the field in water equities. Did you know that? GE.
Water equities.
Yeah, but the sector takes up just 2% of its colossal turnover at GE. Some of the top water companies are Suez, Ferrovial, and a bunch of other companies I don't know, except for
Ferrovial.
ITT.
Wow.
Yeah. Are you familiar with Ferrovial? Do you have stock in them?
No, it sounds like a disease.
It sounds like it's had iron in it.
Yeah.
Goldman Sachs said the best option is to spread investments across a basket of candidates. Badger Meter, Calgon, take me away.
No.
And so, there you go. Global climate change, according to a Stanford professor, Donald Kennedy, global climate change was now setting off a self-feeding spiral. We've got droughts combined with psychotic excessive rainfall. There are 800 million people in the world who are food insecure. They can't grow enough food or they can't afford to buy it. This is a seismic shift in the global economy. There you go.
You know, when I was doing my thing with economics, I remember sitting in on a talk given by one of the world leaders on population growth and its Malthusian sort of implications. Mm-hmm. And he read this article that was exactly like that. And then he said, it was written in 1970. And most of the things mentioned in here were, in fact, all of their prices have fallen in absolute values.
Really?
So he said, we of course recognize that at some point we're going to come to a point where we're not going to have enough of some of these resources, but it's difficult to see that happening in the foreseeable future. So, like, what's the deal? You know, And what is Goldman
That's your
Sachs
official
doing?
scientific assessment. What's the deal?
As a scientist, I'd like to say, what?
Yeah.
And what is Goldman Sachs doing this? They're supposed to be lending people money.
Well,
What?
they're trying to figure out what's, where the money is.
You're right.
Showing them
That's
the
true.
money. One thing I found ironic was talking about many people don't know China has such a severe water shortage.
Mm-hmm.
And here they're going to go look for it, and one day they're going to go to the Euphrates in the book of Revelation, and it's going to run dry. So isn't that all the bummer for China? Here they go to the Euphrates, and then even it runs dry.
Be trading,
Maybe
pumping oil and water out of that area.
Maybe they're just coming west for water in the last battle of Armageddon.
There you go. You never know.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
You know what? It's all those red peppers that they eat over there. It causes
The Hunan peppers, man.
Magnifies
of those.
that process. Yeah. Yeah, but as long as they got enough milk, because I understand milk is what takes care of that.
I had a friend who was a missionary who ate what was supposed to be one of the spiciest peppers in the world, and he ate it just like, put it in his mouth and chewed on it, and everybody, even the natives went, oh no, and he was like, oh, this isn't so bad, and he said it got hot, and then it really got hot, and then it was so hot his heart palpitated and he passed out.
Oh. I was hoping it was going to end like Paul, when he get that snake that bit him and he just threw it off in the fire.
Oh.
They thought he was a god, That's what I was sort of hoping.
No, he passed out from how the pepper was so hot it actually affected his immune system or his nervous system, and it made him pass out.
Wow.
So I could see them going west for water.
Huh. Yeah.
Yeah. Wake up and got a pepper in your mouth.
Well, anyway, that's going to be a big deal. I mean, we talk about energy. You can do without a whole lot of stuff, but water is a little hard to do without.
It is.
So, ladies and gentlemen, you might be keeping an eye out yourself on when push comes to shove. Where are you going to get your fresh water for your family? Do you have a reservoir? Do you have a place to go? We'll have shows on that. We'll have shows where we'll talk about that issue. But Tom, I'm sure, has a story for us.
I do. This one,